Okay, I think we are live. Can anybody hear me? Trickling in. Hey, Kevin, how you doing? Okay, I'm trying something new this time. I'm doing Instagram Live and YouTube Live at the same time. I wanted to see if it how that goes. How you guys doing? South Carolina here. Jeff, Jeremy, Peterson. How are you guys? So, I'm going to let people trickle in a little bit, but for those who are on Instagram, this is the first time I've done on Instagram. Oh, hey, there's Eric from Steadfast. All right. It's amazing how much actually better the camera is on my iPhone than the camera on my stupidly expensive computer. I'm going to move this thing a little bit. Okay, so today, I'm just going to do the sort of the usual Q&A. And wanted to give you guys an update on what's happening with my farm, because if you look in my greenhouse, I'll just show the Instagram people there. There's no microgreens in my greenhouse. And people have been asking me, Curtis, what the hell is going on? How come there's no microgreens in your greenhouse? So here's the deal. I have decided to take a little break from farming, and I don't know how long that break will be, but I basically, Mark wanted to leave. So Mark had been working for me for 4 years, and especially for the last 2 years, he more or less ran the farm. And so he wanted to get into some other stuff. He wanted to be a software developer, and I totally supported his decision to do that. It was all good. There was nothing bad between us. But when he decided to leave, I kind of learned a little lesson this time. The last thing I wanted to do was compromise my family and spend less time with my family, because I still do work full time. Like, I'm not on the farm, but I do all these other things now. And so I work full time. And so, yeah, that's kind of where it's at. I had to, take a break. So, I'm doing all these kind of cool things, which I'll talk about in videos sooner or later. You can see I've built all these raised beds in my greenhouse here. It's pretty sweet. I've been building a video that I'll put out in a little bit about how I made these. And I wish I would have done my raised beds in my front yard the same way I did this, because I use these special screws. They're called, I forget what they're called, but they're like a drill screw. You can go right into straight wood, and they basically pre-drill and put the screw in at the same time. And I wish I would have done that when I built my beds in the front. Anyway, so I've been building stuff like that. Doing a bunch of renos in my home and stuff. But so I'm taking a little break from farming. Doesn't really mean that I'm not engaged in farming, because I'm on somebody's farm, twice a month. I'm traveling around. I'm making videos for this membership website that's going to come out in the new year. And so I've got all these wicked farms that I'm going to visit. Some pretty cool farms. I've reached out to about a dozen people so far, and I'll be making trips to their farms to make like really extended, detailed videos of what their farms are all about. So, hey, thanks, Pearson. I appreciate that, man. Poopy Doggy says urban farming is a Ponzi scheme. Okay. I guess am I the top of the pyramid? Because I'm not that rich. I'm not rich at all. So I'd have to, if you had somebody like a Tony Robbins, I would maybe think that was a reasonable argument. But CP Diggs is saying traveling. Yep, gonna be doing tons of traveling. Gonna be going all over the U.S. There are a couple places that I would like to visit in South America, and I do want to make some trips to Central and South America. But probably for the first year, most of the content for the site will be based in the U.S., just because that's my biggest network. I know farmers all over there. So, you know, it's kind of like one of these things that as you go through life and you're moving ahead with what you're pursuing your passion, and you discover things along the way. And I've discovered that my greatest value that I can contribute to is in content about agriculture, because I have experience as a farmer, 9 years experience running my farm. So I understand agriculture, and I'm a fairly good communicator, and I'm a fairly good content creator, and I really enjoy doing that. So I can bring more value to the food system in like the greater food system if I'm focused on getting the message out. And you know, I spent the first 4 years making videos on my farm with the odd video here and there on other people's farm, but there wasn't really much I could do with Green City Acres anymore, right? Like Green City Acres, quarter acre farm, we pretty much nailed what we wanted to specialize in, which made our farm very profitable, but there wasn't much else I could do with it unless I expanded it. And that's what I was actually going to do last year. For you guys who were watching me on YouTube, maybe not so much on Instagram, but I was looking for a big piece of land, and I actually had spec'd out an 11-acre parcel. I was basically in a 10x Green City Acres, would have been more than 10x really. And that would have been the next evolution of Green City Acres. When I was looking for that, our daughter was young. Like, our daughter was less than a year old, and parenting doesn't get any easier the older they get, right? So I'm really glad I didn't do that, actually, to be honest, because I'm committed to being a present dad and being home. And we do close parenting with our daughter, and so it was just kind of one of those things that I had to compromise in some way, and it was easiest to kind of let the farm fizzle out for the time being. Now, I'm not saying I'm not going to farm anymore, because I love farming, but right now, for my daughter's age, it makes the most amount of sense. Just looking at some of the comments here. Being debt-free is better. I agree. And I'm almost debt-free, actually. My house is almost paid off. Once that's paid off, then I won't have any debt. Though interest rates are low, you know, it's debate. Some people who are into finance debate whether it's worth it to pay your debt off if you have low interest rates, and you can make the case there. But yeah, that's what it's all about. Monkey went bananas says here, branching off income stream. Yeah, man, that's what I'm doing. I mean, I have multiple income streams because I have many different forms of content that I've created that are out there. I have 3 different online courses. I've published a book that's sold, I think, over 50,000 copies now. I still do my live events, on other people's farms. I'm going to be down at Steadfast Farm in Mesa, Arizona in February, late February. That's going to be an awesome workshop because they're now on this agri-hood. And I'm actually on my way down there on Monday to make some videos. So you guys will see on YouTube, you'll see some videos coming out about that. And yeah, so still doing a lot of the same stuff. I still actually have, you can see, I'll just move the Instagram camera. You can see I still have like all of my kind of workshop area of my greenhouse because I still do a lot of trials for things like that. Diego and I at Paper Pot Co. are making some new tools. And that's a big part of, that's the main part of my role in that company is I do the research and development and like product development basically for new things that we're going to release. So we're making some tools, and we are looking at buying some new tools to bring in. And yeah, I've discovered too in this whole journey, like I've changed a lot in the 10 years that I've been doing this, you guys. Like I really changed a lot. When I started out the first 3 years, I probably considered myself more of an activist because I was really motivated by changing the world. And I still am motivated that way, but I've learned a lot in my journey, and I've learned that I actually really like being an entrepreneur. I really enjoy doing business with people. I enjoy doing good business because a good business person, it's all about win-win. It's like all about satisfied customer, and you're happy, everybody wins. And so I really enjoy it, and I like doing different things. I kind of get bored of doing the same thing over and over again. And if I had to jump back into Save Green City Acres right now, I'd be bagging greens and doing the sort of the same tasks that have to be done week in and week out. But I have more ability that I can offer to the world than doing that. I mean, Green City Acres, let's be honest, it's a profitable farm, but how many people are we feeding week in and week out? A couple hundred maybe with our quarter-acre farm, growing a few hundred pounds of greens a week. The impact I have by being a dedicated content creator, creating new tools, and I'm writing a new book. I'm actually working on an updated version of the Urban Farmer. I can help more people that way. So I figured out that that's where my best leverage is, and I can help the world at large by doing that. And it's also, frankly, a better lifestyle for me as a family guy, because if I had to jump in and run Green City Acres full time, I would be working 80 hours a week, and I don't want to do that anymore. I want to work 40 to 50 hours a week so I can have a family life. And normally I finish work at 5. When I do these YouTube live sessions, we go till 6, and then I go have dinner, and I'm a family guy. I read to my daughter before we go to bed. I want to do that every day. So, okay, let's jump into some of these questions. I'm going to scroll back. There's a lot in here. For those of you who want to support me and do super chat, that's always a better way to prioritize your questions because they pop out. Other than that, I'm just kind of taking a crapshoot at random ones. I like these kinds of questions. Philip Layton asks, I'd be interested to hear about your libertarian viewpoints, how they help guide your farming business philosophy. That's an interesting question. I think a part of libertarianism that I like is understanding just the reality of how the market works. And it's all, what I like about libertarianism as an economic ideal, say call it the free market, is that the market is an ecosystem. The market is just another ecosystem of human beings that interact with one another, and we signal to each other back and forth through price mechanisms. You get price signals. And that's how a lot of that, when I really started to understand some libertarian principles, especially when I started to read guys like Thomas Sowell and Friedman and Hayek, is understanding how these things work. And I just by doing business, I learned a lot about that, because you try something, doesn't work, and you try another thing, well, that one kind of works, okay, maybe I'll tinker that a little bit. But it's all about biofeedback from your customers. And so I really think it's a permaculture idea. Like, free market economics, in my opinion, is totally a permaculture thing, in the sense that we observe and interact. We're interacting in a multifaceted ecosystem, and I really think that's what's cool about economics. And people often get angry at libertarian ideas, and they think that crony capitalism or things like that are libertarian, and they're not. The government intervention it goes against all the ideas from libertarianism. But I don't want to go on about that too much, because I know everybody doesn't share my political views, and that's fine. People saying, yeah, come to New York. I'd love to. Whenever I get a good invite, I'll go anywhere. I answered this question about microgreens. Cool. I'd like to come to Virginia. Are you keeping the membership free for those that bought the course? You know what? That's not a bad idea. Let me think on that. But I think that's a reasonable ask. And I might just do that. You'll be looking for larger scale farms or systems that started on larger farms. Maybe not right now. This age, now I've found a nice quality of life. I like being an entrepreneur that's multifaceted right now. I've always wanted to live on the country. Always wanted to have a larger farm, but not right now. I'm on farms so often that by me not farming, I'm not missing anything market garden space because I'm completely up to date with what's going on. My best friends are people that are actively running market gardens. I'm talking to them all the time. I teach on their farms. I still do consulting, probably a little bit more than I want to, but I'm up to date with what's happening in the field. I'm just not bagging greens every week. So it's really not that much of a difference. And it's not going to make a difference for my content because I stopped making videos about greens to the acres this summer, even though we were still operating, because I kind of hit a wall. I was like, how many more videos do I need to make about harvesting radishes and all that? And mind you, people that want really detailed content can always join my online courses because they have way more, soup to nuts content organized in a linear fashion. That's what those are there for. So yeah, I kind of hit a wall there. Hey, there's Dawson. Okay, Dawson's got an awesome question. So, okay, 2 super chats. Thanks, guys. I'll get to both these. So yeah, I went to see Jordan Peterson. I noticed that triggered some people on Instagram. I thought that was kind of funny. Most people really like Jordan Peterson that I talk to or interact with, and then you get the odd hater. It's like cilantro. Some people love it or hate it. I find most people are kind of impartial. A few people hate it. Some people love it. But I went to go to see Jordan Peterson in Vancouver yesterday, and I got to meet him. I got to hang out after the end of the show, and I met Dave Rubin, which was super cool. And Dawson is asking me a question about this guy named Yuri Bezmenov, who was a Russian KGB agent who defected from Stalinist Russia. And he kind of, when he moved to Canada, actually, this is like in the 1970s. And he, I'm just giving a bit of backstory to this question. He kind of outlined how the Russians use psychological warfare to kind of like overthrow governments. And I asked Jordan Peterson about that because a lot of what he talks about is kind of psychological stuff. And I asked Peterson like what he thought, how psychological warfare was being used, and if where we were, Bezmenov kind of says, hey, with psychological warfare, it works. You demoralize the society, then you destabilize the society. That leads to a crisis. Then that leads to a new system. They call it a normalization. And Peterson gave me a really long response. And he was basically said, like, I don't know where we are in it, but I think we can turn the tides by being aware and standing up to things that we see as falsehoods. And I thought that was really cool and powerful. And I ended up meeting some really interesting people at the end of the show. But it's actually quite a long discussion to get into it more, Dawson, but that was kind of it in a nutshell. Elad here saying, I have a dream of starting an urban rooftop farm in NYC, Manhattan, as a side job / hobby. However, regulations are hard to deal with, and the same as finding the right affordable space. Yeah, dude, honestly, Elad, if you're going to do that as a side job, I wouldn't do a rooftop farm in New York. New York is extremely regulated, for one. Another, it's very expensive to do a proper rooftop farm. I don't know if you visited Brooklyn Grange, but I know Ben Flanner at Brooklyn Grange. I've met him a few times, hung out with him. And they spent, I believe it was $250,000 on their first one. It's like an acre, something like that. Maybe it's a little less than an acre. So like 40,000 square feet. They spent $250,000 because they had to re-engineer the roof. They had to put in this special kind of liner. And then they had to get this special composite soil up there that was lightweight. So I wouldn't recommend doing a rooftop farm. I think, especially as a side hustle, if you want to commit full time and you're like ready to throw in some major dollars, it could be really cool because, like, one thing that's cool about New York is that it's a hub for the world, and you'll probably get a lot of people that are interested in coming to check it out. I know Brooklyn Grange does a lot of weddings on their farm. I don't know if it's their main income stream, but I know it's a significant one at this point. But as a side hustle, I don't know if I would go for that. Here's the thing with like some of the high-tech urban ag and rooftop stuff is that in North America, we have a lot of topsoil and we have a lot of good agricultural land. So I don't see a real reason as to why you would want to farm in anything else besides good soil. Because it's even in New York City, it doesn't take that long to get out to the country. Like, it's totally reasonable to be in upstate or in surrounding areas. And if you want to sell in New York, it's not that long of a commute to the markets or the restaurants. So I don't really see a realistic reason as to why to do a rooftop farm in New York City. Even Singapore. And I used to think that Singapore was the best place to do rooftop farming because it's such a massive urban center. But I actually looked at the map of Singapore recently and saw that there's tons of farmland in Singapore. There's tons of it. So I don't know. I think there's a lot of hype with that stuff personally. Just looking at some of the Instagram chats here. Zenith Micros, how about offering a bottom watering tray for paper pot flats? Dude, we're making that. Like, that's going to be out in the new year. I promise you, that's going to be out in the new year. We invested in a big injection mold. We're making them. So that's coming. That's coming. There's just some production complications that we're trying to work out, but that is on the way. Thanks for the super chats, guys. Ryan Blake, thanks, dude. Jason Brown, what is going on with Mark and Roger these days? Well, Mark is studying software development in Vancouver, and he's coming back. He lives next door to me. He'll be back. So he wants to do software development. I could see Mark getting into making apps for agriculture, actually, because he has such a great understanding of farming now. Marry that with some software development, maybe something awesome will happen. So we'll see. Roger's keeping it real, man. Roger's in the house all the time. Roger's here. Actually, we're having dinner with Roger and his wife Ellen this week. And so yeah, Roger's still around. Roger's hanging out. He looks after our daughter every now and then. But yeah, actually, so here's actually another part of the update about the farm that I didn't tell you guys. So I didn't fully close the farm. What I actually did was we dropped one plot, and then I still have, so the home base here is more or less the same. Like, there's not a lot of microgreens. There's no microgreens going on here except some stuff I'm just growing for ourselves. We kept our flagship plot. That is our homestead plot for myself, my family, and Roger's family. So Roger has 2 kids and his wife. They're growing food there, and so am I. And I'm still using that plot and my neighbor's plot right next to the homestead here as R&D plots for Paper Pot Co. So what Green City Acres is more or less right now, like, I haven't closed the business officially. Like, the business still exists on paper, but it's an R&D wing of Paper Pot Co. at the moment. So, I might get back into it full time again. We'll see. A lot of it really depends on people. I don't have time to train somebody right now. That's the problem. If I would have thought more about this, if I would have planned better, and again, this is a lesson, and I still have to have yet to process the mistakes I made and what I would have done differently. But what I should have done is, when Mark expressed interest in leaving, I should have been prepping another person while I had him for another 4 months so that person could be trained. But that's still a lot of responsibility on that person. Like, Mark, knew everything on the farm. Mark could do the weekly plantings. He had all the microgreens day in and day out dialed. He talked to customers. He filled out invoices. He harvested. He packed, delivered. Mark was pretty much able to run Green City Acres by himself, with a little bit of help from me, and we had another part-time person in the main season. But Mark was able to run it by himself, and that's how it was when I ran Green City Acres when I reached the pinnacle of Green City Acres, when we hit 6 figures on a quarter acre. It was me full time, and then another part-time person. And then when Mark came in, I spent a couple years really training him, so I was more involved in the farm at that time. But then he was able to take it over, and then I was able to kind of back away, and he was able to run it more by himself. That's what, like, I still am a firm believer in my business model, that it can really help people, because, like, for a couple to run a quarter acre farm like mine, that makes $100,000 a year gross is still going to be like a 60% profit margin. And so if it was a couple running it, they wouldn't even be working full time. So that's pretty good money for that kind of work. You know, you're not going to get rich from it, but that's not what it's about. It's about making a good living, doing something that you love and that you're passionate about. And so, you know, I still believe in that. It's just my current context changed, and I had to adapt to the current situations. Sent a request to be in your live video. See, I don't know what to do about that. Somebody on oh, that's cool. Daniel here on Instagram saying he closed his farm to get into urban farm app development. Right on. Do I have any experience growing hemp microgreens? No, I don't actually. I have grown marijuana plants many times. Never put that in YouTube videos, but maybe I will, but maybe I won't because YouTube kind of kiboshes it. Roger is an amazing grower. Roger knows what's up. Probably something I'm going to do for the membership site is do like a small series on growing cannabis that will be in that site. And I talked to Roger about it. He's keen. So we'll see. I'm a big fan of cannabis. Like I'm not a heavy smoker, but we juice it. I think it's an amazing plant. I think it can do a lot of good for people in the world. So I like it. Jason Brown, thanks, dude. If the course is self-paced, why isn't it open now? You know what, Jason? The only reason we do closed membership is because it's just better. To be totally honest with you, it's just better marketing. And I ran my first online course, Profitable Urban Farming, was like evergreen that they call it. But we get way better enrollments by doing it closed, and it's just a marketing thing. That's the only reason, to be honest. And like, I'm just being honest with you. That's why, because when you do things in closed registrations, you get people in quicker. And the other reason is the way we do our online course is that it's live with me. So it's a 5-week course. You have access to it forever. You can go back on it forever. And it is self-paced, but we do 5 weekly webinars with me in it. And so that's part of the reason too. So yeah. Alex Whedon, no, they're not tech screws, dude. They're not tech screws. They're, I'll show you what they are. That's a tech screw, a self-tapping tech screw. These are the screws I used for my raised beds. They're just fast. They're just like fantastic. And they've got that really cool, I don't know what that bit is called, but they're sweet because you can just drive right in and you can see some of the kind of wood sawdust coming out. And they're so strong. Like I did all the joints with them. And yeah, it was fantastic. Jason, do I still phone Skype consult? Yes, I do. Okay, here's an interesting question from Sherry. Competition is fierce in Central Valley, California. Yes, there's no doubt about that. There's a whole lot of ag going on over here. I'm very familiar with that myself. Other than providing a beautiful product, microgreens, etc., and tons of passion, how do I compete? Okay, this is a really good question. And here's the deal with competition in general. It's a big question. When you're a market gardener, you're selling more than a product. You're not just selling a product. You're selling a vision of how a vision of how the world ought to be or how you view it. You're selling a culture. You're selling people subscribing to you as an individual, as an interesting person. Farmers markets are a cultural place. They're a cultural experience. People go there for the experience, right? It's just like how a farmer's market is different from a grocery store. They're different things because the end product might be very similar. You know, you could go to Whole Foods and buy really good organic produce, and maybe it's as good as farmers market produce. I know some people would debate that, and I probably would too. But you get my point, is that they're different things. So a small farmer taps into a niche based on the extra value they offer. And like when I started at the farmers market, I really gave a ton of information. And I've always been that way. Always been very open source with what I do. That's why I started putting videos on YouTube. That's why I wrote my book and gave as much information as I did. And that really helped me, actually, because I became known as the guy at the market who people would come and ask their gardening questions to. And a lot of the old school growers were didn't like me because they were like, oh, Curtis, you're going to tell everybody how to grow, and then they're not going to buy from us anymore. And it's not true. The opposite is true. That's a scarcity mentality versus an abundance mentality. And in an abundance mentality, abundance tracks abundance. It's the law of attraction. And so people love the fact that you're so generous. They'll come and support you because they're not going to garden full time. Like, very few people are going to do that. Very few people are actually going to farm full time. They're going to grow some carrots and they're going to grow a little bit. And that's actually going to teach them to appreciate what it is you do even more. So they'll actually become loyaler customers as a result of that. And that's been my experience. So in a nutshell, that's kind of my thoughts on that. Okay, Matthias asking a question here. Can you tell me something about the winds in Kelowna? I want to farm on a very, very windy land. Are your techniques applicable on this land? Yeah, probably. I mean, there's people all over the world doing this. I don't see why not. One of my students down in New Zealand, I did a video with him 2 years ago. He's in an extremely windy climate, and he's doing it. He's built a bunch of windbreaks around his property. So yeah, that can work. Like, no problem. I mean, no matter where you're farming, you're going to face challenges. Hey, I see my buddy Jesse chiming in here on Instagram. Jesse, I want to come visit you in Toronto. Check your email. I want to know what you're up to in April. Hey, there's my buddy Pierre Piche chiming in here on Instagram too. Oh, this is fun. But yeah, anywhere you farm, there's going to be challenges, right? So that's farming. That's just the way it is. That you're never going to get away from challenges. That's what a farmer's life is, overcoming challenges. So yeah, don't worry about that. You're going to have that no matter what you're doing. Susie Conkle asking, how do you get started early in the season with a greenhouse? Well, you can't get started as early as you could with a greenhouse. But when I first started, I didn't have greenhouses. I just did all my starts in a heated indoor nursery on a shelving rack with lights. And then I put transplants in the ground and I covered them with Agribon and low tunnels. So that's what you do. You know, like in my climate, in this year, I was able to do, what was the first time I put my transplants out? Might have been mid-April. No, probably late April. And then I was kind of in production to mid-May. So that's not bad. You know, you can still easily get a 6-month season without major season extension technology. So that's fine. What else have we got here? Thoughts on buying a tractor, 30 HP or so, for tilling large plots? Yeah, I mean, I think if you have large land, you should use a tractor. In my opinion, and I wonder what Jean Martin would think about this, but his farm at 6 acres with 450 100-foot beds, in my opinion, is the biggest a farm should be on 30-inch beds. Without a tractor, maybe you can farm on 30-inch beds with a tractor. That's fine. But if I was going to be any bigger than that, I would use a tractor. You know, a great farm to check out that's really doing market gardening well, and I'm hoping to make a video with him in the spring, is Jeremy Mueller over at Excelsior Farm. He's using just, if you go on Instagram, he does Instagram. He's not on YouTube or anything. He doesn't make videos. Just Excelsior Farm on Instagram. You can check him out. he's crushing it with small tractor work. Ben Hartman too. I mean, check out Ben Hartman, the author of The Lean Farm. He uses a small Kubota. I think that's the way to do it. I got Satoshi Nakamoto here asking me if I accept Bitcoin. I don't know why I don't, but I should. So I'm sorry, Satoshi. I'm a big fan of your work. No, I'm not really. I'm not that into cryptos right now. I'm just kind of doing my thing with ag, but I should be. You know, a good friend of mine says the more ways you have to get paid, the more you get paid, and I think he's totally right there. Okay, I'm just gonna look at the Instagram here. Have you prepared a lawn to farm and grown in the same season? Oh yeah, dude. Check out my go into my videos last April. We flipped a plot from lawn. Well, actually we tarped it in October the previous year, and then we ripped it in April. We had crops in there in a month. So yes, absolutely. It is absolutely. Luke, do you still farm at all outside? Yeah, well, here's the deal with winter farming is in my climate, it's cold. Like right now, it's -4 degrees Celsius out. So for you people in Fahrenheit, that's just below freezing. That's, you know, approximately, what is that, 6 degrees below freezing, whatever freezing is in Fahrenheit. So you can have production in the sense that you have crops in the ground that are stagnant and they're covered. So I can have things like romaine heads of lettuce. I actually just had real successful romaine in my garden this year. Spinach, kale, baby kales, arugula does fairly well. So yeah, you can have things like you're not planting and all that, but you've got stuff in the ground and you can continue to harvest them. Somebody on Instagram asking, have I done any videos with the Texas farmer? Yes. Dawson is watching on here right now. I did a video with him. If you look in my videos a little while ago, it's called The Doogie Howser of Market Gardening. He's a Texas farmer. So yeah. Okay, my brother Jesse in Toronto asking me, what are your thoughts on no-till method? Just saw Singing Frogs Farm. It's a lot of work, especially with a market garden on 30-inch beds. It's a lot of work. I think shallow till is better in my opinion. I'm familiar with Singing Frogs. I've been there. They do a lot of manual labor, and you know, it's a taste thing. I'd rather not do that. Like I don't have a problem using machinery, so I would way rather not bend over as much and just do shallow cultivation. Use a power harrow, use a BCS PDR. That's my thoughts. But you know what? To each his own, and there's many different ways to do things. I think there's a lot of exaggeration in the science with people that say strict no-till is in like because you know, I have been a little loosey-goosey on the no-till terminology, and so I want to just kind of make that clear is that no-till is technically no cultivation of the soil whatsoever. That's technically no-till. Like you can check out Charles Dowdling on YouTube. I think he's got a book too. That's like really what no-till is. What most of the market gardeners are doing is shallow till. And that is something different. But in my opinion, shallow till is just far more practical if you're running a commercial market garden than doing real no-till, which might work for gardening. And it does. Like Singing Frogs is a great farm. I haven't caught up with them in recent years, so I don't really know where they're at. But I was there 2 or 3 years ago. And yeah, it's a lot of labor. Like I wouldn't want to farm that way myself. But hey, to each his own. Somebody asking, why not hydroponics? I think I have a video with that exact same title, so just check that out. Again, I kind of said it too with the rooftop thing. It's like, if you got soil, why not grow in the soil? Like I've got in my greenhouse here, it's warm. It's -4 Celsius outside, and it's 22 degrees Celsius in here. It's warm and comfortable. I've got soil in here. Why not grow in the soil? I prefer soil. Adam King, have I heard of magnetic water? No, but feel free to paste the link into the chat there, and I'd be happy to check something out if you think there's something that I should check out. Hey, thanks, Satoshi. I'm a big fan, man. Keep up the good work. Yeah, that's right. Silver Maples is saying no-till requires a lot of compost. That's exactly right. Like, you have to keep layering. And you know what? Again, it's context. What do you want to do? Like, everybody can do it their own way. Like, there's no monoculture here, you know? Like, there's always a diversity of things that work, and I'm a big fan of that. I don't believe in this sort of monomania. Like, there's just like one way to do things, you know? And I find that too, like, even in the world in general, people are always like looking for what's the one answer? What's the one thing why everything is this way? It's like, life doesn't work that way. Life is more complicated than that. There's not really one answer. Things are multifaceted. Somebody here asking, creator of the Boundless Universe, asking, do you feel that one should apply for grants or farm assistance for startups? You know, okay, so here's my thought on those things. As a libertarian, I would say no. As a taxpayer who pays a ton of tax, I'm like, give me as much of that money as I can back. So it's up to you. You know, the U.S. is insane. Like, the amount of grants you guys have in the States, and I know most of you are probably from the U.S., is absolutely insane. Like, the U.S. is far more of a socialist country than Canada is because there's so many programs. So I don't know. You know, it's up to you. Like, I don't really care. Like, that's your business. You know, do what works for you. I'm not here to judge. I mean, I appreciate you asking my opinion on it, but do what works for you, man. And in my consulting practice, it's the same thing. It's like, I'm here to help you. Like, what do you want to do? What suits your context? And if you want to apply for that NRCS grant to build your greenhouse, have at it. Whatever works for you. The one thing I don't like about these grants from the farmer's perspective is that I see a lot of farmers get all this money for these things and they they don't really use it, because there's something to be said about skin in the game, in that if you have to bootstrap your own operation, you have skin in the game, and you're going to make conservative decisions based on the dollars that you made, not somebody else. So I think there's something to be said about that, and take that for what it's worth. Kyle, what's harder? Thanks for the super chat, Kyle. What's harder, educating people on food or growing it? That's a tricky question. That's a good question. That's a tricky one. I think, well, it's hard to say, because it's like, I don't know what a person's skill set is. Like, I know I have spent thousands and thousands of hours on both, because I came from a background in music performance. I already had a leg up as far as education, because I was comfortable in front of an audience, and I learned about public speaking to some degree too. So I think I had more of an advantage getting into public speaking than I did have an advantage getting into farming. Because when I got into farming, I knew nothing. Like, I just read some books and I went at it. And so it just depends on what your skill set is. It's certainly educating people is certainly more complicated, because there are, you have more risk in the sense that you put things out there that are forever out there. Whereas when you're growing food, that food is consumed and then it's gone. And so you're constantly replenishing the services that you're providing. Whereas with education, that stuff's out there. Like, my book probably has some typos in it, but that book is out there, so like, I can't just take that book back. Whereas with growing food, you kind of can in a way, maybe. So that's kind of what I think about that. Yeah, Dave, I agree with you, man. It's true. The government is just they're too involved in our lives, and I don't like it. But I'm critical with my stuff. I kind of share things a little bit because I'm human, and And I'm a person who just tries to just live openly and honestly, and I end up sharing some things that are political. Some people don't like that, whatever. You can't make everybody happy. Some people on Instagram were really triggered by the fact that I shared the photo of me and Jordan Peterson, and it's like, well, you don't like it? I mean, sorry, man. I mean, not much I can do about that. That's your problem, not mine. I am who I am, and each one of us don't have the same beliefs. I have lots of friends that have different beliefs than I do. Doesn't mean I can't be their friend. Doesn't mean I can't talk to them and try to find other common ground. Because you know what I find too is like some people on YouTube, even some of the videos I've made where I kind of talk about more of my libertarian ideas, it's like some people like just immediately hate me for that. But it's like, dude, if we never talked about libertarianism, we'd probably get together and we would agree on 100% of everything except that one subject. So it's like, why focus on one thing that you disagree with on a person? It's kind of like a contradiction with people who are really liberal or social justice-y. They think we should have diversity and all that, and I'm all for diversity. That's all great, but it's like diversity includes opinions, culture, and ideas as well. So like, let's be diverse. Let's celebrate diversity. Let's celebrate the fact that we don't all believe the same thing. That's good. Monoculture is not good. Monoculture doesn't exist in nature, and monoculture can exist with ideas and culture and politics as well. So like, let's celebrate diversity. Let's actually be diverse. Rich Stone. Hey, I got my brother Rich Stone here. As long as you're not a communist, I assure you, Richard, I am the furthest thing from a communist. I'm a liberty-loving free market guy. And I do have I have to say, I have a hard time with communists just because I also have a hard time with Nazis. So, when people tell me that they're really into Marx, like I said, I can be friends with anybody, but if somebody told me that they were really into the work of Mussolini and Hitler, I'd kind of be like, well, yeah, I don't know, dude. We might have a hard time hanging out. So communism is the same thing. Communism is worse. Communism killed more people than Nazism or fascism. So I got a tough time. I have a tough time with communism. But most people who claim to be communist, I think they just don't know what communism is. They don't really understand it. That's the thing, is they don't really know the body count, and they don't really understand how that ideology turned people into hatred, turned people into hating other groups of people. It's collectivism. It's horrible. Philosophy by a farmer. Hey, I heard a cool saying once. I forget how it goes, but I think it was something like, you can teach philosophy while on a farm, but you can't teach philosophy. No, but you can't teach farming in a philosophy class or something like that. And I like that because been farming for a long time now, and when I was by myself with this, I'd just be listening to podcasts. I could be listening to philosophy stuff and economic stuff, and I learned so much while I was farming, and that was awesome. And that's what I like about farming, is that it's a way you can, because you're busy with your hands, but you can keep absorbing ideas. Tim says communism kills no one. Dictators that rule over the system. No, that's not true, dude. Communism is an ideology that permeates into people to hate one another because you hate the people who have more than you. That's why everybody in communism dies. It's the dictators are bad too, but it's the ideology which is horrible. Just like with Nazism, Hitler himself didn't kill that many people. It was the people he poisoned the minds of that killed people, and communism does the same thing. So, no thanks. Billy Bob from Australia. Hey, you've inspired me to start a farm. So I did lived in the city, now moved to the country to start a market garden and a small plant nursery. I've never watched if I never watched your videos 2 years. I don't know what that means. Oh, 2 years ago, I wouldn't be here today. Thank you, mate. Hey, brother. Pleasure, man. Dawson says, I like you better since learning about your political views. Thanks, man. I'm just being honest, I am who I am, and I can't hide that, so it's like, whatever. Take it or leave it, People don't have to subscribe to my channel. They don't have to like me. It doesn't matter. I am who I am, and if that means some people hate me, then what are you going to do? It's impossible to please everybody. It really is. And if you try to please everybody, you become a robot who doesn't say anything that's meaningful, like most politicians. They don't want to say anything that offends anybody because they just want votes. So that's not who I am. Hey, John. Thanks, brother, from Zenith Microgreens. You guys got to check out Zenith Microgreens. Go on Instagram and check out Zenith Microgreens. He's got this wicked, like, John, how many square feet is it? Like 10, like 20 square feet your operation. You've got this tiny little room. Super, super cool. David, you do have a good point. You can come close to pleasing everyone with cake, except the vegans. They will not like you. Unless it's a vegan cake, but vegan cakes are hard to make. I used to be vegan, actually. I was a vegetarian for 16 years. I was a raw vegan for a year. I was a vegan for just like a plain vegan for 2 years. I experimented with diets. Okay, let's look at some Instagram stuff here. So we're going to do 6 more minutes, and then I got to go to dinner with my lovely wife and my little daughter. And we have book time every night around this time, so I got to go read her some books. Do microgreens come bigger if you water them with some nutrients, for example, arugula? Not really. Not really. The way to get them bigger is to plant them at wider densities. Because in shallow soil, they just compete, right? So, maybe if you had a deeper flat, planted at a wider density, giving the nutrient might have more of an effect. But from what I know and have tried over the years, nutrients don't really make much of a difference with microgreens. It's funny though, because when you grow them in the field, some of you guys haven't seen my video with John Hofer from Wise Earth Farm. We did a video about his field microgreens, and John's an incredible farmer, and he's actually where I got the idea from field microgreens in the first place years ago. But he does it now differently with the 4-point seeder, and he calls them macrogreens. And I think it's a lot to do with the fact that they're more spread out and there's a deeper soil profile, so roots can kind of just go anywhere. I think that's how they get bigger. I don't think it has anything to do with nutrients. Hey, I appreciate that, Daniel. Open and honest conversation. That's what I love about you. Thanks, man. Be proud to be yourself. Don't follow the herd, brother. That I certainly will do. Okay, here we go. Here's the quote. Green Bexar Farm says, okay, here it is, you guys. You can teach philosophy while farming, but you can't teach farming while talking about philosophy. Thank you. That's awesome. I love that quote. That's like words to live by right there. Tony Crochier saying, you inspired me to teach urban farming. Awesome, dude. There's such a need for information about agriculture that if everybody watching this, the 200 people here watching YouTube Live and the 40 people watching here on Instagram, if everybody started teaching farming today, none of us would compete with each other because there's so much space in the market. So teach, get the word out. Teaching is sometimes the best way to learn. And one thing I can tell you guys 100% is when I started in consulting, I learned hyper quickly. And I think that's what a big part of actually what led to my success, call it success in small scale farming, is that I opened up to people and I reached out and I learned a lot from them. And that really helped me. So it's a great thing to teach. If you have a passion to teach, it's awesome to teach. Michael Howerton here saying, I want to honor you for the inspiration to start a backyard plot. I have a 2,000 square foot in spinach and market 200 pounds per month to a juice bar. Oh, that's awesome. While working my corporate job, it's been a huge blessing. It's awesome. It's awesome. Bailey here from New Zealand saying urban farms and housing developments doing something similar to Steadfast in New Zealand. Have you seen any residential programs on urban farms, farmer in residence? Well, I'll tell you more next week because I'm going to be at Steadfast on Monday, and I don't know how long it'll take me to get a video together for YouTube, but yeah, I'll let you know more about it. It's really exciting what they've got going on down there, so we'll see. Petra OLZ saying you might be on your way to being dark web. Hey, that'd be cool. I could be the resident farmer of the intellectual dark web. That'd be rad. I love those guys. I love that stuff. Dave Rubin was a sweet guy. So nice. And Jordan Peterson, man, what a nice man. Like, I've met some famous people before, and I've met quite a few famous people before. I met David Suzuki a number of years ago, and I was like, David Suzuki was my idol, like, since the time I was like 10 years old. And I met him, I was like 3 or 4 years ago. He was a total asshole, apathetic. And I watched him because I was helping with an event that he was doing. And I got to talk to him a little bit. He was such an asshole. He was so ungrateful to everybody he talked to. He was a total prick. And the two nicest people I've met that are famous are Joel Salatin and Jordan Peterson. Joel Salatin is solid gold. I can't say enough good things about that guy. I've talked to Joel a number of times, obviously more than I have Jordan Peterson. But when I met Jordan Peterson the other night, and I was hanging out after the event, I saw him because I was in this like VIP event, and there was about 100 people in it, and every person he talked to, he shook their hand, he looked them in the eye, talked to them in sincerity, was totally genuine, and was just, you could just tell the guy was a really good person. And I honestly, if I thought he was an asshole, I would say he was an asshole, because I idolized David Suzuki until I met him, and I was like, this guy's a total prick. And I can't say anything about his work or anything like that. Like, I think he's done a lot of good work, but he was a prick, and it totally turned me off him. But when I met Jordan Peterson, I was like, this guy is the real deal. This is a really nice human being that cares about people and wants the best for people. And I try to be that the best I can myself. Dawson, super chat. Thanks, Dawson. Could you please, y'all, you mean like us, list the weight of your shallow microgreen trays on Paper.co? I'd love to see how they compare to other. Okay. I'll text that to Diego right now. Done. Let's do it. That's great. That's a good suggestion too. So yeah, we'll definitely do that. All right, save that. Done. Thanks, Dawson. Michael Weir here. Thanks for the vids. I've been watching for a year or so now, and all the info has helped inspire me. And I recently purchased a hydroponic farm in New Zealand, 2,000 square meters of tunnel house. Wow. Hey, keep me up to date, man. I actually got a lot of requests to do some videos about hydro farms, so that's going to be on my list. So looks like Instagram is going to end here in a minute. If I end up going a little bit over, you guys on Instagram, just jump onto YouTube to finish up here, because I think Instagram will only allow you to do an hour. So I started a little later than 5, so we're going to go a little past 6. But yeah, for those of you who get caught off here on Instagram in a minute and a half, just jump over to onto YouTube if you want to see the rest of this. So somebody here on Instagram, home-to-home farms, should small farmers start thinking about distribution models beyond farmers markets and CSA, something like niche apps and selling directly to consumer? Absolutely. 100%. And I do talk quite a bit about that in my videos. Sisabu Organics asking, when does the membership start site? So yeah, membership site starts in January. It's going to open up, and I'm doing it is like, it'll open up in quarters, just like my online course. So that's going to be January 4th. It's going to open up, and it's going to be like, when it starts, it's going to be cheap. It's going to be like $4.99 per month or $49 a year US. And then it'll go up for the next ones, because I'm basically inviting all my core fans to get in cheap to, support me to start, and then they'll stay at that price point forever. So you'll be grandfathered in no matter what I set the price to later. Because, I might go 2 years into it, and create a ton of value in that course and be like, man, this is worth more than $10 a month. So it might go, who knows what it'll go to. But people who join in early will be at that price point forever. I have like a software that basically manages that. So for the early adopters, you'll be in at that price point forever as the founding members. So, hey, got Ray Tyler here. So Instagram's cutting off. So you guys jump into YouTube if you want to. There. Instagram just cut off. So it's just you and me now, YouTube. So we'll go another 5 minutes, and then I got to run to dinner and read a book to my daughter. I spent 20 years in the Army and did a lot of teaching as a NCO. The best moments are when you see the students get it totally. Oh, that's Walt. I remember Walt from Riverside there. Yeah, I love teaching, man. It's something that I didn't really know I had a passion for it until I started doing it, and I started. Yeah, I love it. It's awesome. Here's an interesting question here from Demod Dub. Is agroforestry the best intersection between industrial and organic agriculture? I don't know, man. I love the idea of agroforestry. I really do in principle, but I don't know anybody that really makes money at it. And then some people are going to say, hey, Curtis, check out Mark Shepard. I'm very familiar with Mark Shepard's work. From what I can see, Mark's farm doesn't make a lot of money. And I understand that's not the be end all. People think because I talk about money all the time, that's all I care about. No, but that's the world we live in. And so if a farm doesn't make money, it doesn't have any serious effect on the marketplace. So a farm has to make money. It has to be profitable. Otherwise, people aren't going to eat the stuff because it's not going to get out where. It's not going to get anywhere. So farms have to make money. I definitely want to do more videos on agroforestry. I've got Stefan Subkowiak on my list to go and visit at Miracle Farm. So I'm going to reach out to him. Maybe Steph's watching. If you are, Steph, chime in. I'd love to go and visit Steph. I'm going to be back in Quebec in June because I'm teaching on JM's farm with JM, Jean-Martin Fortier. So I will put onto my calendar to go and visit Steph. So we'll do a little bit of stuff on agroforestry. I'm up to, with this whole goal is to just explore every new development in agriculture. And so I'm open to whatever. Philip Layton asking, have you ever looked into agorism? Absolutely, dude. Oh yeah, I know all about agorism. Big fan of Doug Casey and those guys. I'm actually going to be speaking at Anarcho-Poco. Well, I think I did get the official invite today. They're really late in getting me the invite. It's kind of like, man, I wish you guys would have sent me this in September because my calendar is so filled up. So I have been invited to Slow Tools in New York. Do I go to Slow Tools or do I go to Anarcho-Poco? We'll see. I love Mexico, so upstate New York in the winter versus Mexico in the winter. We'll see. Bought your water nozzle doesn't work. Maybe my pressure is too low. Could you tell me what pressure? Yeah, I mean, you don't have to, as long as you like. I think my pressure here is 80 psi. So if you got 80 psi, like any tap pressure should work. If you're on rural water and a pump, maybe could be why. Jeff Fitzpatrick's thoughts on Square Tap Pay. Yeah, man, easy stuff. Definitely makes your bookkeeping a lot more traceable to the government if you're into that. But that's kind of the world you live in. So whatever. But it's certainly convenient. When I was last in at Jean Martin's farm, I was really floored at how efficient their farmers market was because they had everything on Square and they had they had 3 iPads and it was like boom, boom. Transactions were so fast. So yeah, it's super convenient. And it gives you, live up. You could be at home in your office checking the farmers market sales with the people at the market. So that's kind of cool. There's definitely some utility in that. I have a 9-year-old daughter and read to tell stories every night before she goes to bed. Yeah, me too. Our routine is bath, book, bedtime. with Violet. So yeah, we're big into reading with her and all that. Hey, here's a cool question. When do you think you can make it down to Eugene, Oregon? I'd love to host a workshop. Hey, that's kind of cool. Send me an email. I'm actually planning to be at Eugene. I reached out to Jeremy Mueller in Eugene. I would love to go down there. I put it on my calendar. What is an ideal time for me? Because I want to do a video with him. I'm hoping Jeremy will have me in late May. We'll see. You know, I can only do so many of these 5-day workshops on farms just because it's still a small market. Like I have 3 in the US. I've got Arizona, Selmer, Tennessee, and then now Des Moines, Iowa at Dogpatch Urban Gardens. So it's hard to add new. I don't know if I'll add a new one in the US. I'm doing Germany. Like I've got a 5-day workshop in Germany in August. And I'll probably be back at Richard Perkins Farm in Sweden. I'm doing a 2-day workshop in Luxembourg City. And I'm doing a 2-day workshop in Brussels, Belgium. And what else are we doing? And I think there's another one in the works with Germany too. So yeah, there are tons of farms there in Portland. I know, I'm well aware of it. It's market saturation is what it really is. Like if I don't sell out these workshops are expensive to operate. And I do it 50-50 with the farms. So it's yeah, I mean, email me. We'll talk about it more. I'll kind of tell you how it works. But yeah. Okay. What else have we got here? Cool, guys. You can email me at curtis@theurbanfarmer.co. Do I read novels? Not really. I don't really read fiction, to be honest. I read nonfiction. I'm big into self-help books. Like that's. I'm big into self-help books, and I love philosophy. I love economics. I don't really read novels. Hey, Brad, you must have missed. I was talking about Jordan Peterson already. It was awesome. It was incredible. You can go back to the beginning of this video, and I think I talked about it 10 minutes ago. Wes Frazier asking about growing in shipping containers. I can't really advise you on it that much because I've never done it. I've seen a few, and my partner with Small Farm Academy, Luke, he did his microgreens operation in a shipping container. Check out Chris Thoreau. I did a video with him years ago. It's one of my more popular videos on microgreens. Other than that, I can't really give you much advice. I should do some more videos on that. Okay, here's a question that I'd like to answer before I leave. Craig asking about Paper Pot Co. Canadian Distribution Warehouse. Okay, so this is what we're going to do. Here's the deal. So Paper Pot Co. is a California-based company. So it's a California LLC, and I'm a partner in that company. And in order to get stuff up to Canada, because we import a lot of our stuff from Japan, we're actually going to be making some stuff in Canada now. So that is going to change this. So we're looking to do a hybrid thing where we'll have sort of an outpost of stuff in Canada. So people in Canada who want to get stuff, you have to buy a certain amount and you'll get a significant different savings on shipping, because what we're going to have to do is you're going to order that stuff. We're going to send it up here to me in Kelowna, and then it's going to get shipped out from here. So it's like if somebody wants one small case of paper pot flats, no, you're just going to have to order it from California, unfortunately. But if you're doing an order that's like, you know, $500, you're getting like a lot of stuff, then we're going to work that out. And because we do want to help people with that. You know, it's a California company. That just made sense because, you know, let's be honest, like doing business in Canada is tough. It's really tough because we don't have a big population and we're really regulated. Taxes are insane. Shipping is insane here. It's literally 5 times more to ship things in Canada than it is in the US. So it's just, yeah. So, but we're trying, and we're trying to help people out here. Okay, one, maybe I'll take a couple more because my wife isn't knocking on the door yet. Maybe she will. I don't want to get in trouble. But thoughts about community farming? I got a lot of thoughts on community farming. Actually, I've been meaning to make a video about that for a long time, and you're reminding me now that I should. To be honest, I'm not that much of a fan of it because I've never really seen it work. There's a community farm here in Kelowna that took many years to get off the ground. And I just see it's a skin in the game issue. I like skin in the game. I think skin in the game makes people better human beings. I think it also increases the incentive to be successful and to be more economical. I'm not a fan of community farming because I'm not a fan of handouts. Now, that, you know, that could be, I'm sure there could be exceptions to that. But I've never really seen a lot of success models with it. So that's kind of my thoughts on it. I think skin in the game is crucial. Jeff C., what books have you been into lately? Oh man. And I'm kind of getting into book season too. Because I do a lot more reading in the winter. But let me just pull up my my last list here, and I'll tell you what I've been into lately. Just because it's not off the top of my head. You know what I discovered for my daughter, which was an amazing. I don't know if you guys have read the book, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. If you haven't, you have to read that book if you're an entrepreneur, even if you're a farmer. That is an incredible. I think Joel Salatin says it's his favorite book. There's a kid's version of that, and it's Stephen Covey who wrote it. His son, Sean Covey, wrote it. It's called The Seven Habits of Happy Kids. And I'm reading this series to my daughter, and she loves it. It's super cool. So I really like that. Oh yeah, the last book I read that blew my mind, and it's a parenting book, but I think it would be valuable even if you aren't a parent because it would give you a lot of perspective on yourself and how you grew up. Like I found when I turned 30 and started to kind of take on more responsibility, like I wasn't in a serious relationship at the time. I didn't have kids, but I started to reflect on like how I was raised, and that helped me kind of confront the things in my personality that I wanted to change. This book called Hold On to Your Kids, Why Parents Need to Matter More Than Peers. Game changer book. Gordon Neufeld and Gabor Mate. I'm a huge fan of Gabor Mate, the Vancouver-based psychologist. Love that book. My wife and I listened to it on Audible together, and we loved it. So that was great. I'm currently reading Jordan Peterson's Maps of Meaning. Really, really intense. Okay, probably one of my favorite books of the year. 12 Rules for Life from Jordan Peterson is like absolutely my favorite book of the year. But I would say a close second would be Principles by Ray Dalio. Really, really liked that. Skin in the Game, Taleb. I'm a huge fan of Nassim Taleb. Anything that guy writes, I'm all over it. I enjoyed Steven Pinker's Enlightenment Now. That was really cool. Yeah. Another one I actually really liked was a pretty easy read was The Richest Man in Babylon. Really liked that book. So yeah, that's some stuff that I've been into lately. I'm kind of getting into some old school stuff right now. Like I've got Adam Smith here, The Theory of Moral Sentiments. I got Wealth of Nations. Those are kind of on my reading list for the winter. But yeah, those are some books I've been into lately. Okay. The E-Myth. Yeah, you know what? I kind of read the Cole's notes of the E-Myth, and I love that stuff. I haven't read the full book, but yeah, I'm all about the E-Myth principle. Hey, Dawson, thank you, man. Thanks for showing up. Not sure. Asking thoughts on JBP going to Hollywood. To be honest, that was my biggest concern when I went to see him. I thought he'd sold out, and I know he signed with CAA, the Creative Artists of America, who are, in my opinion, quite sketchy. A person who's been into conspiracy theories for a long time, but I don't think you can say that anybody who signed with CAA is like in the Illuminati or something like that. I don't think you can realistically prove that. I met him, and I think he's an amazing human being. I think he's a really nice person who wants the best for people. So I'm not really worried about it. I think the fact that Peterson's making tons of money and achieving a level of stardom beyond most could ever achieve is just going to bring his message to more people. And I think whatever, if that's what it takes, that's what it takes. So I don't know. I don't think it's a bad thing. He doesn't live in Hollywood. He lives in Toronto. So yeah, it is what it is. What causes sunflower stems to turn red? Stress. Either stress from not consistent watering or like cold nights. Usually what it is. Philip, if you're going to Anarchapulco, tell me when. Well, if I go, it'll be the 14th to the 17th of February, because that's, just checking on my calendar here, that is when Anarchapulco goes, 14th to the 17th. Yeah. So I think I'm going to go. Like I said, I was invited to Slow Tools, but I don't know. I like Mexico. The Illuminati have to eat food too. Yeah, they also have to eat other things, which we're not going to get into on this channel. Yeah, Mary, you're right. There's the voice of reason right there. You're probably a mom. So I am going to go to dinner, you guys. Thanks for joining me. This might be my last YouTube live session. I don't know. We'll see. Part of me wants to keep these for the membership, and I would publish them on YouTube, but part of me wants to just keep the Q&A for the membership to provide some extra value there. But we'll see. So yeah, let me know what you guys think. Appreciate you guys' feedback. Somebody quickly asking, what about a podcast? Well, the membership site is going to have audio versions of all the videos. So that's kind of the plan, to do a podcast there. It's going to be built into the site. Anyways, guys, appreciate you all. I appreciate the gratitude. I'm forever grateful for the great feedback that people give me here. It's helped me become a better person and helped me become a better content creator and educator. And I thank you for that. And I wish you all a good night. And I probably won't see you, if I do, until after Christmas. So have a great Christmas holiday. Enjoy some downtime and take care. Okay, see you guys.